Love it. Hey everybody, I hope you're having a fantastic RDC. My name is Ali Miller and I oversee our influencer marketing efforts here at Roblox. So over the past year, we've been doing a lot. I've been at Roblox for a little over a year now. I wanted to give a high-level update on what we've done in the past year. So first off, we've made a lot of strides to connect with our community a bit more. We've increased the volume, velocity, and frequency. We've met with new creators, VidCon and other events. We built out the Gilded server, and we continue to receive hundreds of applications to join the Video Stars program. We've also worked with our product team to roadmap new features that benefit influencers. Our influencers spend so many hours per day on our platform, and they're essentially our power users. And as a result, our product team has invested in exploring features like a private server kickout and experimented with presence features, like in online and making sure, if you're streaming that you can kind of appear offline and not be stream sniped and all those fun features that streamers don't like, all in an effort to ease the friction of creating content on our platform. So we've also amplified more voices. We've recruited 50 new people into our official Video Stars program. And we're also exploring and working with our team in Japan to find new influencers in the Japanese market and create that sort of content flywheel to really start our efforts in Japan. Now, we shared this graphic last year, but it's important. It's worth kind of reinvestigating this one. The platform experiences, your developer experiences, it's at the center of the platform. It's the center of the video creator and developer ecosystem. And why does it matter? Bringing you together only makes each other better, essentially. So influencers are your biggest fans to the developers in the room. They have massive platforms, obviously, and they support you. And video creators continue to be the biggest driver of awareness for new product updates and new experiences. And as of June of this year, Roblox UGC on YouTube is at an all-time high, with 275 million views per day of Roblox content on YouTube. That's like saying every Roblox daily active user is watching 4 Roblox videos per day. Pretty gnarly. We've also spent a ton of time kind of applying more analytical rigor to what we've been doing in the past year. And we've seen some really exciting evidence that influencers can really help experiences take off before our recommendation engine actually picks it up. And we've also seen evidence that influencers can help awareness to updates to existing experiences affecting the trajectory of new and updated games. And time and again, we're seeing that when an influencer posts content about up-and-coming experiences or a content update, it can really spark meaningful interest, conversation, and whatnot. And so I'm sure this is no surprise to any of you, but we're also seeing dramatic shifts in the video platform and content variety, which lend themselves to really how we can adjust our strategies as influencer marketers to kind of meet the viewing behaviors of their audiences and on these formats. Obviously, in the past year, I'm sure it's no surprise to anybody in this room that we've seen a massive uptick in short-form content, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and as well as uptick in the number of streaming platforms as well. Now, just kind of thinking, I'll spend a little bit of time on this slide. This is kind of the tricks of the trade slide. So if you're a developer and you're thinking about exploring working with content creators, I like to think of it in kind of these 3 buckets. It comes down to really budget, access, and exclusivity. On the budget side, it's important to note that these influencers, they're brands. This is their livelihood. Content creation is their world. So even if a team doesn't have budget, we always ask ourselves, what can we do to bring value to them? And then I'll talk a little bit about access. Of course, that means what can we do for influencers and content creators to bring them behind the curtain a little bit to understand new things and new features coming down the pipeline. That could be in the form of like creating a Discord server. What can you do to engage the community even if there's not a content update coming? And then do we have access to a brand partnership deal is another example of like basically if you want a more traditional celebrity that's working with a brand partner on Roblox, what can we do to kind of make that introduction and bring some value to them that they might otherwise not have access to? For instance, this past year in the NFL Super Bowl activation with rapper Sweetie, we had a content shoot day, and it was, they were shooting content to promote the experience, and it's like, of course, we'd want to bring some influencers to maybe meet up with her, shoot some content, maybe some tune-in promo, and then let those influencers live stream the actual concert experience. So, and exclusivity, I'll kind of end on exclusivity. Of course, in any form of exclusive information or items or something that's going to be valuable for influencers. An example of that would be, an avatar item like a special accessory or a clothing item or any sort of limited time event item that you can only get during that time. So to talk more about this topic, I'd like to introduce a couple developers and a couple influencers to speak more. Please welcome Jesse from Adopt Me, Redibles from Doors, Lana, and Sabrina. You're good.
There's a lot of people here today.
Yeah, it's a good group, right?
Yeah.
So really quickly, just want to go down the line to do a quick introduction. Jesse, you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Jesse Rain. I'm the head of comms at Uplift Games, and we develop Adopt Me, which I'm sure a lot of you know. It's one of the biggest games on the Roblox platform. As head of comms, my job is community, it's video, it's social media, and of course, it's influencers. Just this last week, we relaunched our influencer program, brand new look, and brand new ways to engage with them. So we're really excited to start growing that again from this year.
Go ahead. Redibles?
Hey guys, I just want to say thank you everybody for coming out. My name is Red. You can probably know me from the game Doors. My username is RediblesQW. I'm just very happy to see a lot of my friends in the crowd. It's great to see, and I'm super excited to answer some questions today.
Lana, go ahead.
My name is Lana Ray. I do a lot of short form content on TikTok and YouTube. I also have been starting to do some long form content on YouTube. I know shorts is like my specialty, that's like my thing. But yeah, I do TikTok, YouTube, I'm on pretty much every platform these days.
And Sabrina, go ahead.
I'm Sabrina Bright. I have the Terabyte Games channel. We do long form content on that, mainly simulator content. It just evolved that way. And then I'm also one of 3 owners of RB Battles, and we do competitive long form content on there.
Cool, thanks everybody. So I'm gonna start just asking questions. I'm gonna kick off on the developer side. So when you're planning a new content update, when you're thinking about launching a new thing, launching a new experience, when and where do content creators kind of come into that strategic thinking process? I'll start with you.
Sure. So we think of influencers at Adopt Me as part of our community. It's not a separate thing at all. So they're part of our plan from the start. When we're thinking about new content, we're thinking about how is our community going to react to it? What are they looking for? And when it comes to our influencers, our content creators, we're thinking, how can we make this special for them? So an example of that is literally today, a few hours ago, we launched a brand new live event. We had the Sky Castle above the map crash down. Over the past week, we've been doing like seeding content for that. We've had a countdown appear. We've had characters react. We've had a big storm over the map. So as part of that, we were thinking, how do we get creators involved in that? How do we give them information at the right time so that they can make content that excites their fans and gets them excited about Adopt Me? So really from the start.
So you launched this a few hours ago, and you're here with me?
Yeah.
All right. I assume after this you're going to be on what? Are you going to be checking Twitter for reactions? Like, what's your
absolutely.
move?
That's what.
Yeah.
You took my phone off me, so I wasn't distracted while I was on stage. But yeah, absolutely. Like, it's one of the most rewarding parts of releasing a new content update is seeing the reactions from the community. We've got some amazing content creators across like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. So I'm straight on there. I'm always checking out to see like how have they reacted to it? Are they enjoying it? And also, like, we use it to find bugs as well, so it really surfaces any kind of friction, any kind of issues. We can find those really quickly, get them fixed, and ensure that the community can have a great time with the update.
Cool. Red, I'm going to go to you to ask the same question. When you're thinking about maybe a content update or releasing something new, how are you thinking about content creators?
So I have to say that our process is very similar to Jesse's here, where we do consider our content creators part of our community. And something that we love to focus on when making our updates is making content that we think will be hilarious to see the blind reactions to from YouTubers. I can just recall several times where I'm in my room at 3 a.m. working on something, giggling, thinking about what someone's going to say about it on their stream or YouTube video. And that's probably my most watched content, to be honest. I also am in contact with a lot of our content creators, YouTubers, TikTokers, including Lana here, who I hype up updates to, let them know kind of a little bit what's going on. I'm not too much, I'm not leaking any confidential information, but just to get them hyped up to make a video, I guess.
Love it. And then I'm going to go over more to the content creator side. So Lana, I'll start with you. When it comes to maybe new content updates or new launches, how are you learning about them and how are you engaging with the developers once maybe that new thing comes out?
Well, I find a lot of like games on my For You page on TikTok. I'll be like, someone will post like, oh, this game's trending. And I'm like, okay, let me go in it, test it out, see what it's about, and find something relatable in that game to post about. Same with YouTube Shorts. On YouTube Shorts, I see, you know, people are like, look at this new game. I actually found Doors on TikTok. They had like 500,000 likes, and I'm like, what is this new game? Went in it with a few of my friends, played it, kind of left it alone for a bit, and then when I started seeing people post about it, I'm like, okay, I gotta get on this. Started posting relatable content, and all the videos blew up. And but a lot of like trending games I will find on the Roblox like up and coming or the Discovery, whatever it's called. But recently I've been doing a lot of the up and coming games, especially with like the obby, but you're on a bike. I did that, and also a lot of the obby games are like gaming chair or like potato or something like that. But I've been doing a lot of like up and coming games for my content. It's always found on TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
Cool. Sabrina, I'm assuming you have a bit of a different lens to this as a creator and also sort of the head honcho of RB Battles, looking for more sort of things and ways you can bring the community together in an event format, maybe like RB Battles.
The way that we try to get in contact or even just be like alert about what is trending is we'll follow a lot of the developers on social platforms and make sure to be a part of their communities. And then we'll also tweet out and we'll say, hey, like what kind of games would you like us to make an RB Battles video in? And then we'll sort of take the community feedback and do like a mixture. But it's not always like a popularity contest. We like to feature all games. So yeah, we just sort of look that way, like on social platforms. And then I consume a lot of content on YouTube as well. So that's where I kind of find stuff.
Nice, and I'm going to dig into the term community feedback because I think we all know this as what, you know, via what we do, but where is that feedback coming from? Is it on Twitter? Is it more within your Discord communities, YouTube comments? Like, let's dig into the fine tuning of that one. Like, where are you getting that feedback?
Like me?
Oh yeah, you can start with you.
Okay, yeah, so Twitter X.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a pretty massive following specifically for RB Battles on there, so we are getting a lot of feedback there from our community, but we're also following and putting on notifications on there for other developers and games that we're interested in and that we think would make a really great competitive video. For Terabyte Games, my channel, we mainly like join a bunch of Discords and we'll sort of engage in the community there and get information on when new updates are coming and stuff.
Sure. And I'm assuming that's kind of similar on the developer side. Like when you say community feedback, you're just kind of in the trenches reading Twitter, X.
For us, it's really important that we are part of the community. So we're not just reaching out as, you know, as Uplift Games, as the developer. I'm reaching out as Jesse. We've got, you know, members of our support team, our QA team, who have been on Roblox for a decade plus now, and they have that connection. So a lot of what we're looking for on Twitter, we're seeing, you know, conversation. We're getting replies directly to us. We, you know, spend a lot of time on watching TikTok trending. On long form on YouTube is great. Sometimes as well, what we try to do is find new people. So there's a great thing. One of my colleagues, Sarah, has some friends that did like a Twitch stream of their first ever playing of Adopt Me. And I think their viewership must have been entirely our staff being like, how are they finding it? How are they enjoying it? And like being able to pull that in. As well as that, like we have a community Discord, which people can both send us feedback directly, but also that we often troll through the chats and see how people are talking to each other. This is a little peek behind the curtain, but there's, you know, as kind of the community manager for the team right now, there are a few people that I consider tastemakers in the Adopt Me community. So they're the first people I go to. I'm like, are they enjoying it? How are they talking about it? And that really sets the tone for me. It's like they're kind of my idealized player.
Because are they the ones kind of giving you this like most articulate, helpful feedback? The ones that are really,
or they're like, you know, the exact kind of target audience we're looking for.
Sure.
So it's like if it's not landing for them, we know we've missed the mark.
Got it, makes sense. And Red, I'm assuming it's similar for you if you have anything to add on that topic.
I have to say that I also like to take probably one of my biggest input devices, I don't know what you'd call it, the place I get my input from, I'd say is actually, strangely enough, YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to Twitter or when it comes to Discord, there's a lot of people just kind of rambling whatever comes to their mind, a bunch of nonsense sometimes. And when it comes to, at least I'd say a good portion of YouTube comments, especially on like very in-depth Doors videos focusing on a specific topic, they actually can timestamp a specific part of that video and give some good information on it. And I find myself reading through YouTube comments a lot. And also a way that I get a lot of ideas and to know whether people are enjoying it or what kind of features they want is just straight up direct contact from friends or from YouTubers. We also have a very, very extensive QA testing team that are in it not just because they like to QA test and get paid for it, but because they really love the game. And they just play it and they tell us what they think needs to happen.
Yeah, I actually want to jump off and maybe ask if you feel the same as me. But I think it's important. Sometimes it can be really overwhelming as a developer to just feel like you're being bombarded with feedback.
Yes.
So it's been really important for me is to figure out where the most useful feedback is. And sometimes, like, I find that on YouTube as well. And a thing I kind of attribute that to is if you're on TikTok, you're being served, 10, 15 videos a minute. Sometimes you're flicking through.
Totally.
So a lot of what you're getting is people who aren't necessarily a fan of your game and have just been served it by an algorithm. Whereas with a YouTube video, it's a lot more commitment. You've seen a thumbnail, you've clicked through, you've watched maybe a 5-10 minute video. So I find that the people giving that kind of feedback on a platform like YouTube are people who are more familiar with the game, more likely to be a player, more likely to have experience. And so sometimes that feedback's just a little bit more valuable.
That is exactly true.
Yeah. Love it. And then Lana and Sabrina, just kind of going back to the sort of content creator side, how far in advance are you kind of planning out your content calendar? Like, I'm sure you'll follow these, channels and everything, and you'll say, see something upcoming. How far in advance are you just kind of locking stuff in? I'll start with you, Lana.
Well, on TikTok, if it's like a trend, let's say a trend happens day of, I will film that trend day of. Sometimes I plan my content like a night before and then film it next day, especially with the trends on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Now when it's like an original idea, I'm like, okay, I gotta do like 5 to 3 days to just plan the content so I know what I'm doing for the sound, any sound effects, any like green screen in the back. Sometimes those videos, because I had it on CapCut on my phone for them, but those videos will take like an hour to edit because I have like the specific idea of what I want. For long form videos, since I only post one a week, those take me like 5 days to come up with because I want the video to be strong and for it to look good. I don't want to just, keep posting the long form. I want to like take my time on each one. With the shorts, it's a little easier because my shorts are like 7 to 10 seconds. So,
Yeah. Sabrina, how about you? How far in advance?
So for a Terabyte Games channel, it can be 1 day to 1 week, but generally it's no longer than that for a video. For RB Battles, a championship can take a year.
I was going to say, we did the Adopt Me integration into the last RB Battles. We were one of the semi-finals, I think.
Yeah.
And we started talking about that maybe 12 months, 14 months before it actually happened.
Yes, it's a very long process.
And so just kind of continuing just the engagement with content creators and you guys, the devs, on the influencer content creator side, what could you do or what can developers do to kind of entice you to cover their experience? Like, we know that there's some tried and true methods like I talked about before, access, exclusivity, but if we can dig into that a little bit, what can they do to kind of entice you to create and cover?
Yeah. You want me to answer?
Go for it.
well, honestly, the games that have consistent updates are the games that people and influencers are going to go back to either create content or to continue playing the game. An example of a game that doesn't really do that but is a good game is Rainbow Friends. They had their Chapter 1 update. Players were playing it. It was really high players, and content creators were creating so much content on it. After Chapter 1, after a few days, it dropped down. No one was really playing it. No one was really creating content. And then when Chapter 2 came out, everyone started playing it. It was like, it was a loop, okay? And I just feel like with the developers, if you want people to keep coming back and have a consistent flow of players, I mean, just like small updates and then have like a big update. I think Adopt Me does a great job on that. They have their little small updates and then they have the big one. And I think that'll keep players coming back, and especially with the influencers, they'll keep creating content on it. You know, if a game just stops updating, you're kind of like, okay, let me do like 4 videos on it and then now what on the game, you know? So I guess just like consistent updates to keep people coming back, people creating content. It's good for both influencers and the developers.
Agreed.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything to add, Sabrina?
Yeah, I also look for developers that may want me to showcase something that has never been seen before, because I find that that's what our viewers are most excited about. So it's just as simple as showcasing maybe a secret pet or something, or just something that comes out, and with RB Battles, something that comes out with the video, and engaging the community along with it, I find is like, that's what I look for. I look for developers that will be like, hey, what can we do to create something maybe competitive for RB Battles, and then we can release it for the players at the same time as a video, and it's like a big circle, everybody's winning, basically. So that's basically what I look for.
And so kind of going back to the developer side and thinking more strategically about how you work with content creators, Red, I'll go to you. Like, how did you first start working with content creators? I know we'd kind of discussed this in advance, but you kind of did some trials.
So in a game before the release of Doors, called Ragdoll Universe, which is our previous project under Elsplash, we had a severe problem where we would have just no content creators. I don't know why, but people just didn't really want to make content on the game. And if they did, it was just a one-off video. So me being maybe a little bit needy, kept reaching out to these YouTubers, trying to see if they would be interested in making some more videos, because, I mean, YouTube videos are great for publicity. There's no denying that. But, I mean, I guess that kind of gave me the information I needed in how to talk to YouTubers. And once we moved on to Doors and people were basically begging me to give them content to make videos on, it just became a lot easier since I'd already been on the other side of that road.
Sure. How about you, Jesse?
Yeah, obviously, you know, we're in such a privileged position that Adopt Me really blew up, you know, in like 2019, 2020. So we had that player base that creators were looking for. So you know, very lucky to not be in the position of having to like knock down doors and be like, please cover us. We had the opposite, where they were coming to us and being like, we want exclusives, we want news, we want more updates. But we're still, you know, I've been doing this for Adopt Me now 3.5 years.
Yeah.
I'm still learning new stuff. Had a really great chat with actually one of our creators who's, you know, really supported us over almost half a decade now. And we had a great chat just yesterday about like other things they're looking for us, and some things that actually surprised me, where it's not even so much as like, you know, new exclusives and things like that, but just the more social side. I think it's really easy sometimes to think of creating as this really social process, but actually I think for a lot of creators it's quite isolating, it's quite lonely, because you are kind of separated from that, especially when it's not live stream content. So for them, so much of the enjoyment is like our engagement with them. So not just giving them something, you know, behind the scenes, but actually engaging with them when they're making their videos, you know, replying, sharing to it, making content off the back of it. We've started doing a lot of what we consider like back and forth content with our creators now. So we'll create a video, our creators will react to that, and then we'll reshare their reaction with our thoughts, which has been really fun. It creates like a nice feedback loop that again makes them just feel like part of your community rather than a separate walled off area of it.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of changed over the years too, right? Like I think just it's always kind of been just they're the community, we're the developer, they'll kind of get that information when we give it to them.
Yeah.
Now it's just a little bit more sort of tied together and just kind of them as an extension of your team almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, they're so excited to be involved. That's the wonderful thing, is like what you're creating, you know, in my mind at least, what you're creating as a developer is fun. Like you want people to be enjoying your game. Creators are just another aspect of that, you know. They want to share their joy with your players and with people who will become your players. So just making it as easy and as joyful for them to create that content, removing any kind of friction, removing any kind of social barriers, and just making it easy to create.
Sure. Love that. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So I think just kind of on the same lines as like, I guess on the live streaming front, that's a really interesting one just to kind of see in the sort of content variety of platforms. Red, I know that Doors is something that seems very conducive to the emergent storytelling power of live streaming. Is there anything that kind of surprised you when people started streaming it? Like, how did people start covering Doors from the content creation side?
To be honest, I really thought that the big Doors YouTube scene would be lore, but it turns out that it was more on the side of challenges, and because of that, our most recent modifiers update was very inspired by the challenge scene on YouTube, wanting to allow these creators to do it themselves without having to ask us to like make custom scripts for them, or for them to go to the worst and have to mod the game.
Very cool. And then kind of going back to the content creator side, simple question, I think, what content tends to perform best for you? I'll start with Lana.
My content, I do a lot of green screen content, so I'm here and the game's behind me. I know that does really well for me. I've been doing it for a long time. I also do split screen, where my face cam's at the bottom and gameplay from like streams or something's at the top, or I'll just come up with like a little skit. And also I do IRL stuff. They have Hello Kitty Cafe in Roblox, and then I'll go to it in either Irvine or Vegas. Went to the Vegas one recently. I posted, oh, I'm at Hello Kitty Cafe IRL, and people were like, oh my God. But I noticed a lot of green screen stuff does well for me, and I've been doing it for almost like 3.5 years. It's just now I've add more things so it looks more eye appealing to the audience, whoever's watching, but definitely green screen.
Nice. How about you, Sabrina?
For Terabyte Games, what performs best right now would be kind of like collection games, like simulators. One of our actually first videos to really go super well was covering the Adopt Me Pets update. So pets became a big part of our channel. And then for RB battles, anything competitive,
yeah.
And then it's pretty hype when we have like a bunch of YouTubers being in a video. So I think that those definitely perform pretty well.
Sure. Have you guys, on the developer side, I'll start with Jesse, have you kind of kicked off maybe collaborations between YouTubers, or facilitated something between YouTubers that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So one of the things we do as part of our kind of creator or influencer program is we have a private section of our Discord where our creators can have access to us, they can get support, they can ask questions, but they also have access to each other.
Yeah.
And we share all our information. We don't share it privately with each creator. We share it in that public space. So any kind of content ideas can be thrown back and forth. Collaborations can start. We find it, again, just that really communal experience, that community experience. Building a community not just of players, but a community of creators who create for our game helps build that stronger. And like, selfishly, you want people to continue to make content about your game and not someone else's. If they're surrounded by friends who are also making, Adopt Me content, they're less likely to want to be like, oh, this isn't fun anymore, I'm going to go do something else.
Sure. And I think, Red, something that we had talked about previously is, influencers obviously tend to have the loudest voices, kind of the biggest audiences. And something I imagine is kind of a balance for developers is figuring out how to not necessarily show favoritism, but kind of create these opportunities for the wider community. Can you speak more about how you want to engage creators, but in the spirit of making it kind of available and accessible for everybody?
Sure. So in Elsplash, we have kind of an unofficial policy that if it's for a content creator, it's for everybody, meaning that we don't want to give specific benefits to select people, but it's okay if those benefits are inspired by those people, such as, like I was saying earlier, the modifiers update was specifically inspired by the continuous request from YouTubers to have like a console that they can use to do stuff to make videos on. And we were like, oh, that's cool, but if we do that, it's going to be for everybody, because we want people who have 0 subscribers to start making Doors videos if they wanted to.
Makes sense. And then I guess another question I had on the developer side, Jesse, I'll start with you, is how has the community or influencers or content creators surprised you?
I think there was actually a point, so we started, when I took over, we started making content. At the time, we didn't even have a YouTube channel when I started. So we were very driven by that kind of influencer economy, the creator economy, in how, Adopt Me was perceived among players. And so when we started doing that, I was, very worried that it was going to be seen as taking something away from them. When we started doing our weekly news series every Monday, our update videos, that like, oh, Adopt Me are the ones releasing this stuff. This is less fun for me to create content around. And instead, what we found is it's encouraged more content creation. We've got people now that specifically do react videos to videos I make, and they've turned me into like a little, mini celebrity. And so that was really surprising to me, the way they were just so quick to engage with what we were doing. There was no fear that, in other places I've worked at the time, there's often a lot of like concern over how a company is going to treat their creators, how much they want to keep to themselves. You see it a lot with a lot of big AAA games. There is that kind of friction, that tension between the developer and the creator. On Roblox, it's just not there. And it was so wonderful, it's so refreshing to see how open they are and how open, all the developers I talk to, especially here at RDC, how open they are to talking to creators and just opening those doors.
Sure. Red, how about you? Has the community surprised you in any way?
I would say that some of the most surprising content I've seen from content creators, at least, is something we like to do indoors is add things that we think are impossible, such as our secret crossover with Nico Rocks for the rooms. We, as a joke, just added 1,000 of them because we didn't have a system in place to generate an infinite amount of rooms like in the original game. So we just did 1,000. We put a little thing at the end, and we were like, no one's ever going to get it. And then people like Creekcraft or Think Noodles and all these other big YouTubers spend tens of hours just grinding to get this dumb stuff that we never thought that they want to go for. And that goes for A1000. That goes for even somewhat the April Fool's update, even though we did, to a point, intend for people to get that. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been an achievement. But yeah, it's just kind of that thing.
Cool. I'm going to switch a little bit. I think this is kind of a question for both creators and for developers. Talking a little bit about data and analytics. I'll start with Lana. Like, you're obviously probably, I'm assuming, that you're looking kind of at the back end and seeing which content is performing. What kind of analytics are you looking for that you, beyond views, I guess, that would make it, you deem one of your pieces of content successful?
Well, honestly, for every video I post, I'm always looking at the views. You'd rather look at the views than the likes. You have like, let's say, 1 million views, and you get like, I don't know, like 20,000 likes. I mean, that's not normal for 1 million views. But the fact that it did get that 1 million views means 1 million people saw it. So that's what I aim for every video. Honestly, I don't know algorithm on TikTok or YouTube. It's all over the place. TikTok always changes. So honestly, I just strive for the best content, try and post whatever I can, and if it does good, it does good. If it does bad, it does bad, but I'm not gonna stop there. I'm gonna keep posting no matter what. But I've noticed like my consistency of posting has helped my views, especially with streaming on TikTok and YouTube. Streaming on TikTok is incredible. I mean, you gain like 5,000 followers, but then your videos, if they're scrolling on the For You page, your videos will pop up right after it. And they're like, oh, let me just like this, let me leave a follow. So honestly, streaming on TikTok, streaming on YouTube does help the videos from what I've noticed. I just hit the mic. But yeah, I'm not really looking at the algorithm and stuff, just hoping for the best when I post.
Sort of at the mercy of the algorithm many times. Sabrina, how about you? How does data factor in?
I feel like I'm always trying to navigate analytics and unsure of what's important, but I do look for click-through rate to see how often people are clicking the video and how successful that is, as well as views and engagement. I always try to get people to comment because I do find that when there's more engagement, the video is, I really don't know if it's the views or the engagement. I can't tell what's bringing the engagement in, but when there is more engagement, there's more views, so I kind of look for those things.
I mean, there's a whole job sector too with creating thumbnails to entice people to click.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's like a relatively new job within the past decade, I would imagine.
It's definitely tough.
And how about you guys on the sort of development side?
Yeah.
How does data, how are you looking at data
I'm
and analytics?
obsessed with data. So this is my Monday morning. It's like 4 hours. I'm in every platform. I'm checking what we're doing. I'm capturing it. I'm comparing it to last year. I'm comparing it to last week. I'm obsessed now with engagement rate. Making sure we put out so much content. So on average, we put out 10 to 12 new pieces of video content a week across YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. And so as part of that, I'm like, are we always making what our players want to see? Are we making what creators want to react to? So engagement rate is how I check that. And we, luckily, again, have some amazing engagement. On TikTok, we're actually above 10%. So for every 10 views, we're getting at least 1 like, 1 reply. So making sure that stays consistent. If I see that drop, that's kind of triggers me to go, oh, we're doing something wrong. We're losing our audience. We're not giving them what they want. So yeah, that's my North Star right now.
That makes a ton of sense. And we actually only have a few seconds left. Red, I'm going to end on you. How does analytics and data factor in?
All right, I'll wrap it up quick. So as being very new to this whole thing, I am obviously not very grizzled and know my
You're not as
way
old as
through
me,
it.
is what you're saying.
Yeah. But what I can say from what I've learned from just starting is that I tend to look at the negative data a lot.
Yeah.
And I keep freaking out about stuff. I'm like, Splash, we got to do this because, and he just tells me, chill. It's not that big of a deal. The way that our game works is long form, so I'm sure many of you know that we don't release weekly updates like many games, and many people think we should. We release periodic updates that are very large, and
Totally.
but it works for us, and that I feel like is what matters.
Always got to pay attention to the data. But I think we could have talked for probably 2 more hours on this, but sadly we're at time. Thank you guys so much for joining the panel. Really appreciate you all.
Yeah.